I always thought that the midlife crisis for somebody was around 50 years old. Somewhere around our dad's age when they're going through life. But the average age for a man to actually live to is somewhere between 70 and 73. So if we think about it, the average age for someone to be in a midlife crisis, half of that is somewhere in the 33 to 36-ish year range. And if you feel stuck, tired of what you're doing, don't know what else to do, want to do something else, feel called to do something else, you're not the only one. I'm actually going through something like that right now myself. I'm 32 years old. I've been doing the same thing, the same profession for the last 17 years. I've lost a little bit of passion for it, and I still enjoy doing it. But the craft itself, I've lost a little bit of passion for it. I still love the people. I'm a barber by profession. I still love the people, the conversations. But if I'm being honest with myself, I've lost passion for it. I still do it. I still have to love it in a way. It provides the income that I need in order to survive. But do we need to do something that we feel stuck to do just because we've been doing it for so long? Just because we're in our 30s and settled in life, or even if you're in your 40s and 50s or even 60s and you've been doing something for so long, do we need to feel stuck doing what we're doing because of our age? So many men in the Bible, uh, God called later on in life. They were called to a greater purpose, a more significant calling. We can look at Noah. Noah was 600 years-ish old when God told him about the flood and told him to build an ark. Abraham was 75 years old when God called him. Moses and his brother Aaron were 80 and 83 years old when God called them to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Okay, so those are kind of unrealistic ages, because if an average man lives to 73 to 70 to 73 years old, those are already past that age. Okay, well, the best example, the example that we ought to live by, Jesus was 30 years old when he first got into his ministry, when he first started. And then how about people that we know of today, that we've heard of today, who have changed careers later on in life? Harrison Ford, the guy who did Indiana Jones. He was a carpenter until he was 35 years old. Samuel L. Jackson, you mother. He was 45 when he first got his main role in Pulp Fiction. And then I just saw recently that there was I forget her name, I don't remember her name, but there was a lady who was 65 years old who started her YouTube channel doing baking. I don't know what she was doing prior to that, but she decided to film herself baking in her kitchen, something that she was already doing. And she started a YouTube channel and it's taken off. And I know so many people that have had a 180 in their career path, who have done a 180 in their career path, who went back to school, got a degree, and went and could have gone from a corporate job to a blue collar job, or from a blue collar job to a corporate job. My best friend and the guy who I sold my first business to, my barbershop that I owned for 9 years, was in the commercial um, property management industry for 7, 8 years before he decided to get into barbering. He was 29, 30 years old when he decided to go back to school, change his career, and pursue a career that was going to bring him joy and ultimately more money. In his case, he didn't know it was going to bring happiness and more money. He was seeing how I was living my life, and his wife is actually a barber too, and that flexibility and the kind of the stresslessness of that industry. And he decided to go for a change. And now he's owned the business for over a year. He's doing amazing and happy, happier, and also making more money. That doesn't always come. Are we okay with pursuing something different, pursuing something that we feel God is leading us to, that we feel a calling towards, that we feel a conviction to get into? But if it doesn't bring money along with it, or if it's less money than what we are currently making, are we okay with that? That's a question that's a difficult question that we have to ask ourselves and not lie to ourselves, because money isn't everything, but money is important. It does sustain a certain lifestyle. It does pay for things. It does, allow you to have food on the table. It does allow you to have a roof over your head. And another stat, the average age for a man to start his first company, not his second, not his third, is 42 years old for his first company. I'm 32 years old. I had I've had 10 plus years of business experience at this point. And the average guy hasn't started his first business until 10 years later from today. So 10 more years at 42 years old, the first person, a man starts his first company. And you're thinking to yourself, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're even in your 40s, and you're like, man, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. Take confidence in that statistic that 42 years old, a man starts his first company. Not his last company, his first company. You still have time. Many of us go through our adult life. We go through seasons wanting change, whether we feel called to something, or we have that realization that we're not that money isn't everything. We're pursuing more happiness, something more purposeful. And that's something that I've kind of had a little bit of myself in both those regards. But age doesn't have to restrict you either as far as being young. Just because you're young doesn't mean that you can't pursue certain things. You can think to yourself, well, I got plenty of time. I'm only 20 years old. Okay, you might be young if you're going to live to 75, but what if you only live to 35 or 25, 30? Then you're an old 20-year-old. And the reverse as well, if you think you're old and you're 52 but you live to 85, you're a young 52-year-old. But just because you're young doesn't mean that you can't start. It doesn't mean that you have to go through life in certain steps in order to feel like, well, I'm only 20 and the average age is 42 for a man to start his a business. So I got 22 years to wait. No, just start. I was 20 when I got married. I was 21 when I started my first business, a 6-figure earning business by the third year. I bought my first house at 24 years old. And many other people that we know, that we've heard of, that I know personally, and some people that are in the public eye have been very successful starting a company very young or pursuing something very young. We all know Mark Zucks. He started Facebook at 19 years old. Listen to this guy, Fred DeLuca. He started Subway. We all been to Subway before. He started Subway at 17 years old with $1,000 loan in like 1960, 73 or 63, something like that, and grew it to be one of the largest, or the largest at one point, fast food companies. And you might hear that and say, well, $1,000 loan won't get me anything today. Yeah, okay. Well, the equivalent of $1,000 in 1973 is maybe, I don't know what it is, but call it 10,000. I've started a company with $10,000. You can start a company with $10,000. You don't need, and especially in today's day and age with technology, with social media, with with the websites that are out there. Um, you can start a website for free. You can start a product line for free, essentially. You don't even have to have the product come to you. You can have the product directly distributed from the manufacturer to your client. You can start a t-shirt company for free, a clothing brand for free. You have to put time and effort. And yes, eventually you will have to invest money, but don't think that you're limited because I don't have the money, so I can't start now. That's a limiting mindset. You're lying to yourself. We all heard of Yankee Candle, that store in the mall that you walk by and you waft, burn all the nose hairs out of your nose. Mike Kittredge, he started Yankee Candle at 16 years old. He went door to door selling his candles, making them by hand, and eventually grew that into what is known today as Yankee Candle. Listen, you have to go for it. I don't care what age you're at, 20, 18, 42, 65. If you feel called to change, if you feel called to a greater purpose, if you feel called to do something different, both because maybe you have that conviction in your own heart to try something else or pursue something else, go for it. But more importantly, if you feel like God is calling you to something greater, He's pulling you towards something different, lean in. Lean in on it. Walk in faith. You have to go for it. Hebrews 11:1, faith shows us the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things that we cannot see. And I think that's so true in both having faith in God and having faith in what God has instilled in us to be capable to go along the journey with, to go along in the journey in. We have to be able to have that faith in the future version of ourselves. We always revert back to the lie that in our own mind we tell ourselves, either from something that someone has told us in the past and we believe it, or something that has always held us back, like, I can't read well, so I can never write a book. I'm not good at public speaking, so I can never be up on a stage. I'm not artistic, so I can never teach art. Or I've always been fat. Fat just runs in the family. I can never be in good shape. Or a big one, like I don't have the money to do it. Ah, that's a lie. You might not have the money to do it, but what can you do about it? How can you take that first step? What's the first thing that you can try to do? Educate yourself. You can go to the library, get free education. You don't have to buy the book. Go to the library. Read the book at the library. Check it out. Take the book out of the library, read it, return it, read the next book. Get yourself educated. Get started. Find out ways to invest with zero down. There's literally books called Zero Down Investing. There's a book on real estate called Buying Property with Zero Money Down, Zero Money Out of Pocket. And your mind might go immediately to like, nah, that ain't real. I promise you, it is. You can do it. It's been done before. But we also, very importantly, need a community of like-minded people. People you can call to for advice, people who can hold you accountable, and are both there to support you and encourage you, and also tell you when you're being stupid. And they can put their finger in your eye and say, like, listen, man, like, this is not smart. Or this is exactly what you need to be doing, regardless of the circumstances that you're going to face, regardless of the difficulties you're going to face. Pursue through it. We need people like that in our lives. We need people to push us. We need people to hold us accountable. You can't go through life doing it alone. Solomon, the wisest man, said, "A wise man listens to advice." Proverbs 12:15. The advice can even be from a book. If you're reading a book that tells you the blueprint of how to do it the way the book tells you. Maybe it's not going to happen step by step how it lays it out. But if you're reading a book on how to buy a house with zero money down, that's advice that someone wrote on a book, in a book, for you to take the steps to get to a house to buy it with zero money down. If you're asking for advice from somebody who's been married and you're getting, you're thinking about marrying this girl, listen to what that, and it's someone who exemplifies a marriage that you desire and you respect them, and they not only speak wisdom but they show it through their actions, and their life is a testament of them living that way. Listen to the advice they say. One of my biggest strengths I've always felt is listening to the advice that people have told me. I don't always love it. Sometimes fight it. I sometimes fight it. But ultimately I listen, and helped skip it's allowed me to skip some of those hard seasons that otherwise I would have had to go through, and maybe not have reached the end of the road, because sometimes that journey of going through those hard circumstances is enough to get you to stop. One of the most important pieces of advice I got early on when I started my first business at 21, I was getting ready to write a business plan. Something very simple. And I was looking at all these business plans online, and I was trying to get a template from uh, from the internet to try to give me guidance on how to write the business plan. And it felt overwhelming, and there were so many different things. I was trying to start something simple, a barbershop, and these 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 formats of these business plans was just too much for me. It was overwhelming me. So eventually, I just stopped. I said, I'm not going to do it. I got it all up here. And my first mentor, who still owns a very successful uh, home improvement company, who's older than I am by about probably 15, 20 years, gave me the advice. He said, listen, forget all the templates that you see. Write your own template, but you need to have something to hold you accountable to. The vision of your business, how you're gonna start it, the money that you do have. At the time, I think it was like $10,000 to $12,000 I had. How that $12,000 is gonna be broken down into what? That's gonna help you hold. That's gonna help hold you accountable to your why, to how you're gonna do it, how you're properly gonna allocate the money, and the vision ultimately that you have for the business. What are you trying to get out of it? And an exit strategy for if that ever came where I needed to back up out of the business. Thankfully, he never did. But thankfully, I also listened to his advice. Something so simple, yet something I attribute. I still have that business plan that I wrote 10 years ago. Something so simple, yet something so profound that helped me to stay on course. And that was just by listening, by asking, but also listening to the advice that I was given. And we hear it all the time too with parenting. Like, listen, enjoy them while they're young. Enjoy them while they're young. They live, they grow up fast. Okay, but how many of us hear the advice of so many older folks, so many parents, so many people that have lived life, a full life, yet we choose not to listen to them because we think our life is going to have a different trajectory, that our life isn't going to have the same or similar circumstances that they've lived through? That's a lie. So many things that people go through, we're also going to go through them. Why not listen to the advice, especially if it's something that's continuously repeated over and over by a multitude of people. Listen to what they have to say and apply it to your life. Take time to let it sink in and have like this self-reflection. A lot of times we hear things and we just dismiss them. We need to have things soak in and reflect on them so that we can have this um, this ability to look into the mirror and say like, okay, this is speaking some truth to me. I need to know this. I needed to know this so that I can move forward in life, move forward in the thing that I feel called to. A lot of people say, man, I wish I had done this in life. I wish I had done that. I wish I had started the business earlier. I wish I had started, period. Don't go through life squandering time because you think you have a bunch of it or you think you don't have as much of it left. The lady who started the YouTube channel at 65, I don't know how old she is now or how long she's been doing it, but say she's been doing it for 5 years and she's 70 now. She probably thinks I should have started this earlier, but she's probably happy that she started it, period. Because she still gets to pursue something and have that rejuvenation of excitement, of joy in something that she's doing, a passion that she's been able to turn into ultimately a career that brings in income, that provides her happiness, and also gives the person who's watching enjoyment too, because clearly they're watching it for a reason. So don't think that it's too late. I'm too old. Stop being a baby about it. Stop thinking that I'm young, I got time. You might not. You might not have time. Or you might. And time just seems to go by super fast the older we get. Every year that we add onto our life, time just seems like it goes by fast. What is the saying? The days are short, the years are no, the days are long, the years are short. Time just flies by. We're a month away from 2024. And I'm a firm believer that God wants you to move. He wants you to take that step and then have him and being in relationship with him and asking him for his guidance through faith, knowing that he will guide us along the journey, because ultimately that's where he's going to build our character to be able to reach that destination and have fulfillment, as long as that fulfillment comes from him and not that thing. A lot of us just want God to magically write us like the blueprint or give us a dream, a vision, and in our sleep and be able to say like, this is what you need to do and this is exactly how you need to do it. I believe God just wants you to start. He wants you to move in faith, believe that he will guide you along the way and he will bless you. There's certain times where you might have a more of a inclination that God is tugging you towards something and you don't want to lean into it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're unhappy where you are. You feel stuck. You feel like you're going through that midlife crisis, regardless of what age you are. Or you're young and you feel lost and you don't know what to do. Take the first step. Walk in faith. And faith in God, and faith in what he's instilled in you and wants you to go to, and faith in knowing that he's going to guide you along the way. Every step that you get, every step that you take. And know that he's guiding you through that adversity that you're going to face. Are we willing to be like Elijah, Moses, Noah, Jesus? When we step out in doing something that we're pursuing, sometimes it takes us out of our comfort zone. A lot of times it will take us out of our comfort zone. These people that I just mentioned, they left their home, their culture, their past, and their comfort to pursue God. fulfilling God's purpose requires a crucifixion of ourselves. And when we die for his sake, that's when we live. Listen, if you got something out of this, please subscribe to the channel to show support and share this with someone who needs to hear this message right now. Remember, God loves you. He wants a relationship with you, and he wants you to live a life on purpose, for purpose. Peace out.